Hey guys, so today we're looking at force equals mass times acceleration problems. And this is Newton's second law of motion. And pretty much we can sum it up with this equation very simply. But what it means is if you apply a certain force or a greater force, then a certain mass would accelerate at a greater rate. And so the more force, the more acceleration. The greater the mass, then the more you're going to have to push on it to get it to accelerate. Things like that. And so for this formula, we have a formula triangle, and we've used these before in class. We have one for speed, we have one for some other things, but we use these always the same exact way. And so to use a formula triangle, you cover up the term you're trying to find, and it reveals the expression or the mathematical calculation that you need to calculate it. So for example, if I'm solving for force, then I would cover up F, and I'm left with mass times acceleration. If I'm solving for mass, I would cover up M, and I'm left with F over A, which would be force divided by acceleration. And if I'm solving for A, then I'm left with F over M, and that will be force divided by mass. And so on these problems, I'm going to do 2 examples, and you guys are going to practice with 10 of your own. All you have to do is go through and solve the problem. And so I want you to, number 1, show your work. And I'll show you how to do that here in just a second. And then number 2, just put the answer and make sure you use the correct units. And so we'll talk about that as well. And so example number 1, how much force is required to accelerate a 2 kilogram mass at 3 meters per second squared? So first off, we have to think about what are we solving for, and it says how much force. And so we're solving for force. I will cover up the F, and I'm left with mass times acceleration. So to show my work, I'm going to type my formula that I'm using. So F equals MA. I'm going to put some spaces, and I'm going to plug in my numbers. F equals 2 kilograms. Let's leave off the units. That way, that's one less thing we have to worry about. 2 times 3. And then I'm going to just put my answer. F equals, what's 2 times 3? 2 times 3 is 6. And what is the unit that we use for force? It will be kilogram meters per second squared, or the Newton. And so we measure force with newtons. That's all you do. And so I do want you to show your work, but all you do is type it out. No big deal. Example number 2 says, what is the mass of an object? So that's what we're solving for. What is the mass? So we cover up mass, and we're left with force divided by acceleration. What is the mass of an object that requires 100 newtons of force in order to accelerate at 10 meters per second squared? So we're solving for mass, so we're going to do M equals, and when we cover that up, we have F over A. And we can show that with a slash. And so when you're typing this out and showing your work, that's all you have to do. Then space over some. And so M equals, let's plug in our numbers. And so we could make sure that we put F on top. And so the force was 100 newtons, so 100 over 10. And then the mass equals, what's 100 divided by 10? And that equals 10. Now let's think about what would our unit be. And so it's a unit of mass, so it's not going to be either of these two. It's not going to be a Newton or a meters per second squared. I can look back up here in this problem. We measure mass in kilograms, so kg would be my mass. So those are, very quickly, 2 examples. If you need any extra help, you can always get up with me. Send me an email or a message on Google Classroom, and I will do my best to help explain how to work out some of these other ones if you need it.